A little while back, we posted a video about my house that we built and designed, and a year and a half later, what we still loved about it and what we would do different. One of the things that I mentioned was that we really took maximizing square footage into consideration, and I feel we built a house that is 2,500 square feet, but feels and functions more like a 3,000 or 3,200 square foot. After that video, I got a lot of questions, people asking about how we did it, things we considered, what made it efficient, and how we used the square footage. So this video is to give you an idea of what I find important about maximizing square footage and some of the things that we took into consideration when we designed our house. So one of the first things I always recommend doing when you're getting into designing a house and a space is to really nail down what your priorities are. What is most important, what is a deal breaker for you, and some of the areas that you're willing to move on. With a house, it's good to take into consideration your exterior and your interior because they intricately play off of each other. We decided up front that we were going to prioritize the interior and get it where and how we wanted it, and then tweak the exterior to fit what we wanted. We worked closely with a designer who has decades more experience in this than I do and who's designed hundreds of homes, which was a huge help as we worked through some of these details and questions. It's very important to work with someone who knows what they're doing and who understands the engineering and architecture that goes into this, and we relied heavily on our designer to help us make some of those decisions. So to maximize square footage, we knew we wanted to keep the first floor within 1,500 square feet. So we did a few things to help cut down on square footage and maximize the space. One thing we always want to take into consideration is minimizing hallways and utilizing the hallways that you do have well. So the only hallways to speak of on the first floor are our foyer entry area, which is always a nice in-between space. And we knew that it was going to feed both the half bath, the closet, the front door, and this office. So that's a good use of that space. The only other hallway we really have to speak of is this main hallway here that separates the laundry room and the master suite from the rest of the house. So nice and simple, kept the hallways down to a minimum. So some things we took into consideration when designing the master suite was not oversizing things. Paying attention to how we were going to anticipate using the space so that we don't add unnecessary square footage. We organized this into a nice simple shape. One thing I hate when I see in layouts is a bunch of 45-degree walls. They're almost never effective with square footage and create a lot of weird angles that become difficult to work with. So I like working with squares and rectangles and keeping things simple. Master bedroom itself is only about 14 by 14, which gives us enough space for a queen size bed and some other furniture. The bathroom, we kept nice and simple. We kept it within the same framework to contain the bathroom and the closet. Eliminated a tub. We weren't going to use it. It was a nice way to cut down on space and allow us to maximize with a nice large shower and a double vanity, maximizing our open floor. And then what was a must for me was a separate toilet closet that we were able to tuck in beside the walk-in closet. Very easy access, very easy configuration. That allowed us to get a large and spacious master suite without going overboard on square footage. We still created the open concept feel with our main living space, having the large spacious great room that opens up into the kitchen and dining room. But the dining room, we still were able to tuck back in this corner. So even though it's still all open and there's some sight lines, it does give a little bit of privacy and create a little bit of that away space. We really wanted to space this kitchen island out to maximize our walkway. We have a nice 4-foot walkway all the way around the island. So within the first floor, we've created a handful of areas that are also private, that are away space. We have this office that's secluded. We have a set of double glass doors here so that it feels bright and allows sight lines, but also creates some partition where you can get away. We've got the back covered porch that is also a space to get away 3 seasons out of the year. This dining room is tucked around the corner so that people eating at the dining room table have a little bit of a sense of privacy. The master suite is tucked over here on its own corner of the house. And then we kept a partial open stairway here, leaving the rest of it a wall, creating some separation going into the second floor. So this whole area feels open and spacious, but there's still plenty of room to get away from each other. I have a wife and 3 kids and 2 pets, and so you can imagine it is good to be able to have some space where each person can be left alone to their own thoughts. So the second floor added just under 1,000 square feet to the home. The second floor has a smaller footprint than the first floor. There are 2 main areas over the master suite and over the office, kitchen, dining room on the first floor that have only attic space above. On the second floor, we added about 1,000 square feet to the first floor. So we have 2 main areas, this where the office, kitchen and dining room are, and then the master bedroom. Those areas only have attic access above. We kept the living space on the second floor to a smaller size. We created 3 large bedrooms, 2 walk-in closets, and we kept this front closet in this bedroom smaller. We needed a linen closet in the hallway and a full bathroom. And this creates all the space that my 3 boys are going to use. This was actually a bonus that got kind of added on. We liked the idea of having a little bit of a loft area for them, but my designer actually came back and said, hey, with the way this lays out structurally, I think this is going to be a better idea to bump this loft wall out over the front porch. It'll give us more curb appeal on the exterior, and it'll also make this space larger and more usable. And so that was a great change that we made as we were working with the designer through this process. So as far as the basement goes, we have 1,500 square feet on the first floor. Therefore, we have 1,500 square feet on the basement. We did a full basement under the whole first floor. A few things I like to take into consideration is where you're going to locate the HVAC, and as well as your other utilities, where your gas line's coming in, where your electric's coming in. Do you plan to finish the space in the future? And are those things you need to take into consideration now? We roughed in a bathroom location at the time of construction to make that easier later down the road. We actually roughed the bathroom in over here, knowing that that would be where we would put the bathroom later. The other thing I hate seeing are a bunch of posts and columns everywhere. Sometimes it's necessary, sometimes it's just poor planning. So we were able to just put 2 steel beams over here and here, required no posts underneath, and then for the main steel beam across the house, we were able to get it down to just 3 posts. We're actually in the middle of doing some work in the basement now, and this post we hid in a wall separating unfinished space, and these posts we hid in an extended stair wall. So now when you go down into the finished space, there's actually no visible posts or columns anywhere, and we've got lots of open area everywhere else. So those are some different things to think of when working with a designer through the process of designing a house. Ways that we considered for maximizing square footage and giving us the most livable space and the most use without too crazy of a footprint. No matter how good of a job you do designing, there's always changes that you will come across as you go through construction. A few small changes we actually made from the original plan. Our original drawing actually had a 3-car garage, which I was really excited about. And then when we got underway, we discovered that there was a high pressure gas line on the property, which changed our setbacks, and we lost our 3rd-car garage. So we just instead made it a large 2-car to help make up for that. A few other small things that we did, we ended up changing the layout of the back deck to bring it out more, give us a little bit more square footage on the back deck. And then we actually got rid of this shower wall and made it a barrier-free shower, We got rid of this linen pantry and just did a nice long floating vanity that made the space look more open. So there were just a few odds and ends that we did kind of last minute during the framing stage that paid off in the end. So that's just a few tweaks that we made on our house during construction. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to have good communication between the homeowner, the builder, and the designer. It's a must that the homeowner decides what their list of non-negotiables are, the features they have to have, the things they can't live without, and the things they're willing to flex on. The designer and the builder can then work together to design the space that's going to function well, and with a plan for how it's going to be built, how it's going to be constructed, and what budget constraints there may be. Sometimes what sounds like a simple tweak can be rather costly if you haven't considered all parts of the process. In this case, I happen to be both the homeowner and the builder, which helped in some ways, but working with a good designer, having the builder involved, having the client involved, it makes a world of difference. If you're thinking of designing your own space or thinking of designing your own custom home, I hope this gives you some things to think of. These are the things that I would highly recommend paying attention to. And as always, we're happy to help.